Assalamu alaikum. I'm Aysha Ilyas and I'll be speaking to you on Modi's design on future of IOK to observe 2 years of India's brutal scraping of the special status of Kashmir. Persecution of religious minorities, especially Muslims, has been in accordance with the ideology of Hindutva or Hindu nationalism that Modi has always been a propagator of. We had witnessed that earlier in 2002, where over 2,000 Muslims were massacred over a course of 3 days in Modi's led Gujarat, and the state was an accomplice to the massacre. Later, the Indian Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019 and the National Register of Citizens clearly exposed the RSS or BJP government's discriminatory policies against Muslims. When Modi contested for the Prime Minister, he made his intentions and plans for the country very clear, and scraping off the special status of Kashmir has been a part of his election manifesto. But if we have to evaluate Modi's plans for the future of Kashmir, we will have to go back to 1947. We have to look back into Vinayak Damodar or Veer Savarkar. We know that Chandranath Basu coined the term Hindutva, but it was actually Veer Savarkar that popularized the ideology of Hindutva with a one-line mantra, and that was one God, one country, one goal, one caste, one life, and one language. Savarkar's detest for any move to appease the Kashmiri population goes as back as 1942, even before there was any partition in sight. Post partition, he was always against the special status for Kashmir. What that symbolizes is that the August 5th action was not something impulsive, not an idea that Modi came up with, but it was something that has been on RSS agenda since 1947. And how successful it has been in it over the years can be gauged from the fact that until 1950s, the IOK used to have its own prime minister. And gradually, with these extremist forces taking a stronger place in Indian politics, that was taken away as well. Coming back to August 5th, Modi's argument for the move was that the region's special status granted under Article 370 and 35A of the Constitution was of no advantage. It leaves them subject to terrorism, separatism, and large-scale corruption, as well as that no investment is coming into the region, and the move will bring economic prosperity for the people of Kashmir. How ill back that argument was can be judged from the fact that even those Kashmiri politicians who have been overlooking all the Indian brutalities against their own people and have been supporting India could not agree with it. So after years of background work and preparing for over 2 years for the move by arresting every single person they could fear a resistance from and throwing them into jails far away in the country, even stone pelters, putting even pro-India politicians into house arrest, deploying massive forces across the region, and fully prepared for all and any resistance, the Indian government took away the special status of J&K, bifurcated Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. And there began the longest internet lockdown of the history of mankind. For over 16 months, the people of Kashmir were forcefully cut away from the world. Over the course of 2 years, India has issued around 1.8 million domicile certificates to non-Kashmiris to change the ethno-demographic structure of the Indian occupied Kashmir. Now, an outsider may argue that even with the special status, Kashmiris were still subject to an occupation. So how did it matter to an ordinary citizen? After the August 5th move, India has been importing government officers into the territory, and no Kashmiris is given any prominent postings where they have any sort of authority over their very basic internal issues. So for the ordinary citizen, 370 and 35A meant job security. It meant that their land remains there. It meant that they to some extent could make their own decisions, but they were deprived of even that much liberty. And now the next goal of Indian government or the Modi-led RSS government is delimitation, which will further reduce Kashmir's Muslim population into a minority in their own land. Now it may appear so, and they would want their populations to believe that there is no pressure, but the Indian government is under pressure from the international community. And so Modi on June 24 chaired an all-party meeting with 14 leaders from Jammu and Kashmir, including National Conference's President Farooq Abdullah and Chief of People Democratic Party Mehbooba Mufti, while leaving behind all the Hurriyat leadership to discuss the future course of action in Kashmir. In that meeting, they were proposed with a 3-step process: their acceptance of delimitation and an election based on those new constituencies, after which Kashmir will be granted statehood. How gruesome the process is shall be evident from the fact that even those pro-India politicians that India had filtered itself and met could not agree to it. Now, what is noteworthy is even in this whole plan, there is no mention of Ladakh. Ladakh remains a union territory with no role in the politics of J&K. Besides that, Kashmir's new governor, Manoj Sinha's appointment, someone with a strong RSS background and a close acquaintance of Modi, is a forceful policy statement that every move in the valley will be filtered and monitored by RSS ideology and focused on further oppressing the people of Kashmir. So when the Prime Minister of Pakistan calls Modi's strategy in Kashmir a part of RSS fascist Nazi ideology, he actually indicates towards the build-up that can only be driven by an ideology and which is not something we can call a one-man's idea or a one-man's plan, but a part of a larger set of beliefs. A set of beliefs that today is threatening one religious minority, but tomorrow will be a threat to all minorities and to the neighboring countries. Now, coming to Pakistan, India has made it loud and clear that it has no sympathies with the population of Kashmir and its only interest is the acquisition of land. Pakistan, with its restraint on Gilgit-Baltistan and Azad Jammu in Kashmir post August 5th, has actually proved that Kashmir is not an ego war for Pakistan and it will only and only support the right of self-determination of Kashmiris. And the Prime Minister of Pakistan's recent statement during Azad Jammu in Kashmir election campaign made it further clear. This is a very strong message to the international community and a very open comparison of the priorities of one state against the another. The heart of Pakistani population beat with their Kashmiri brethren, and they wish to see the day where Kashmiris, like all citizens of the world, are given their basic human right to self-determination. Thank you.